The two of you are beginning a strange journey. A journey that no Earth people have ever undertaken before.
Well, howdy, folks, and welcome to the Wacky World Drive-In. I'm your host, Rob, sad sack of sci-fi, and with me is my astounding co-host, Dick Vincent.
Hey, Rob. Good to see you, talk to you again, and I hope everyone out there is doing good. And I just want to throw a special greeting out to everybody and hope folks are staying safe and healthy and sane in these crazy times that we're in.
Yes, indeed. And we have no more special than normal, but no less special than normal. But on this week's episode, or this month's episode, however you want to look at it, we're going to be trying to basically tackle two almost completely different topics. We'll see if we get to both of them. I don't know. Shall see. But if you're bored with the first one, maybe the second one will be a little more less boring. But first, Mr. Vincent and I wanted to talk about classic sci-fi.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about doing for a while, and I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, we even talked about that like when we were doing it originally, like season 1 years ago.
Yeah, and the thing I've always liked about classic sci-fi is that when I was a kid, I grew up, we had like our horror host was Sir Graves Ghastly that ran all the old Universal horror. And Universal horror I thought was interesting, I was fascinated by, but it was the 50s sci-fi stuff that ran later in the afternoon on a show called Creature Features that always scared me more.
Right, right. And when we say classic sci-fi, we're going to try to stick predominantly, say, 50s, 60s, maybe some into the 70s. I know nowadays some stuff from the 80s might be considered classic, but we're just going to try to say 50s, 60s, and 70s for this one.
Yeah.
Universal International presents the most startling, the most imaginative and suspenseful science fiction drama ever brought to the screen.
So to start the episode, I actually had a first-time watch recently, and that was This Island Earth.
Oh, that's one of the ones I hoped we would talk about because that's one of my favorites.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think you had actually recommended it to me quite some time ago, and I just now got around to seeing it. I liked it quite a bit. It was not what I was expecting per se, but I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was one of those ones I remember seeing as a kid that really kind of had that epic feel to it. Like you
Yeah,
were really watching something bigger than like life, It wasn't like just this small black and white desert set thing. It was just huge epic science fiction story.
and I liked how there were so many different elements to it. Like it actually kind of felt like a mystery in the beginning. Like, what are these weird blonde people up to? Like, what is actually going on? Leading from that all the way up to them being on another planet. It was really impressive.
Yeah, and it's got a great monster in it too.
For sure. And that was the thing, as I said, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And in no way do I mean that as a bad thing, but just whenever you hear This Island Earth, the Metaluna mutant is always kind of the focus of things. So I was kind of more expecting a creature feature about this Metaluna mutant thing. And what it was, in fact, was, like you said, kind of an epic sci-fi film. And that was just one small element. And looking back on it now, I actually think it was probably better that way.
Yeah, it was really. I thought the whole ending, just with the whole idea of the underground city and the endless war going on, those little spaceships that launched the meteoroids down to the surface of the moon or the planet. No, I thought there was just so many cool ideas in that movie. It is based on a short story which I've always wanted to read, but I never have.
Oh, do you know who the author was?
Not offhand, no. But it's one of those kind of, I think, 50s or probably 40s science fiction short stories that were coming out in the pulps and everything. But I've always wanted to track it down.
So here's a question for you. And like with my misconception of what the film actually was, do you think that perhaps it's not quite as widely regarded as it should be? I mean, it gets accolades and praise, but not obviously like it should because people think it might be a creature feature rather than what it was.
I've never really thought of it, but that's a very good point. That could be that, just because people thought it was going to be like just a big giant monster chasing people around, a ship or a planet, and they turned out to be something a little more, thought provoking, maybe.
Yeah. And not that there's a thing in the world wrong with creature features. I love me some creature features, but there is kind of that stereotype of the campy 50s creature feature film.
Yes.
which again, I
Like,
love those. So not a
yeah,
bad thing at all.
yeah, like the when Joe Dante did the Amazon Women on the Moon and did that parody of them.
Oh, that's a great movie right there.
Yeah, yeah, but there's just some great standard creature feature movies, creature, stuff like The Thing from Another World, and another really good one is It the Terror from Beyond Space,
Hmm.
which was kind of like one of the few films that they call as a kind of an alien that was kind of one of the precursors to Alien, just about this huge monster loose in this ship that hides in air vents and jumps out at people and stuff, and it's cool.
Okay, I tend to get the aliens mixed up. Is that the one, the super awesome looking kind of skeletal caterpillar maggoty thing?
No, this is just kind of a big. It's like a man-shaped thing, but it's got like, I don't know. It's just an alien-looking thing. I don't
Okay,
know.
well,
The maggoty caterpillar thing sounds good. What's that?
that's actually one you told me about.
Oh, is that the monster that challenged the world?
That's it. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
of course. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I love that design.
Yeah, that's a really good. That's one of the ones that scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I just have the hardest time keeping those titles straight. Those long sentencey titles, like it that challenged like all that kind of stuff.
They're very similar. There's It Came from Outer Space and It Challenged the World, It the Terror from Beyond Space. A lot of it's.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, here's a personality question for you. Godzilla movies. I personally, I think of them as sci-fi films. A lot of people put them in the horror category, but especially the 60s and 70s stuff, to me, that's just straight up good sci-fi right there.
Yeah, they are science fiction. I don't really call them horror. I mean, because, I don't really consider stuff like King Kong or The Beast from 20,000 Phantoms horror.
Especially like the later 60s into the 70s Godzilla stuff where the bad guys were always aliens of some kind.
Yeah. Yeah, one that I caught recently that I hadn't seen in years that I really enjoyed was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, which I believe is Godzilla versus Hydra, which was the original title. It was really a weird one. It's got this strange animation sequences in it, and I thought it was really good. And it all takes place at night for the most part, which was really strange for a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, that one you can really feel the 60s in that one. It's really kind of psychedelic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it though.
As do I. Hedorah is one of my favorite of Godzilla's opponents.
Yeah, I love the parts where it like transforms itself into to the flying thing that shoots the poison gas out and everything. I thought it was really just a really cool movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I might have even told this anecdote on this pod. I don't remember, but supposedly Hedorah's eyes were based on the lower part of the female anatomy
Oh, really?
because the director guy said that there was nothing scarier than that.
Oh, wow. See, now you want me to go back and do a rewatch on that.
Yeah, I thought that was a very odd factoid.
Wow. Now, one thing, maybe you're into these, but one thing I can never really get into beyond the first movie is the Gamera movies.
I think I've only seen one of them, so I really don't know.
Yeah, I think the first one's kind of cool, but they just kind of really, I don't know. There's people that love them, and that's good that there's people that love them, but I never could get into Gamera.
I hear really, really good things about the 90s. Like apparently there was like a kind of a rebooted trilogy in the 90s.
Yeah, I found I think Target about a year ago, a Blu-ray set I got for like $5 that has all three of the 90s movies in it. And it's still sitting up there in my room. I have yet to watch it, so I need to check those out.
Yeah, I hear really good things about it, but I just haven't gotten around to watching them yet.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were do you remember kind of what the first like classic, 50s or 60s science fiction movie you remember watching as a kid that kind of really stuck in your brain?
That's a good question. I was kind of late to the game with sci-fi because when I was like a small kid, it was all about monsters and that kind of stuff. So sci-fi kind of came a bit later. But I'll tell you the thing that really, and we've talked about it before, shoot, I've talked about it so much, was Lost in Space was kind of the first sci-fi thing that really took a hold of me.
Yeah, yeah, I remember watching those. There's some, you go back and watch those, there's some really good episodes in there.
For sure. But as far as movies go, the first one I can really remember was when USA did their after lunch Creature Crunch one summer, where every day of the week at noon was a different, basically, creature feature. And they played them. That's the first place I saw the Super Inframan as well. But I guess them was kind of the first like sci-fi type film I can really remember watching.
Oh, that's an early one for me too. That's one of the ones that really, when I was a little kid and seeing that, really, I mean, it scared me.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the part at the end when they're down in the sewers and the part at the beginning when they find that little girl in the desert. It was really good because it's like you mentioned before, kind of about this island Earth. I mean, it's a giant bug movie, but it presents it more as a mystery.
And it comes back to the point I often make about how I think 50s sci-fi and horror is just really unfairly categorized. People always say cheesy. They always thought that word cheesy, but so much of it is not cheesy. I mean, it's old, but just because something old doesn't make it cheesy, I think.
Yeah, and sometimes in them, maybe the dialogue is a little stilted, but that's just the way those movies were made. But I mean, like you said, there's a lot of those that I'll put up against any movie ever made as something, like them. I mean, if you were to sit down and show that to someone who has no idea what it was or what it's going to be or how it's going to turn out, I guarantee you that would keep someone on the edge of their seat.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And another one I often bring up is The Screaming Skull.
Yes.
I mean, again, not sci-fi, but that's another great example of a very not cheesy old movie.
Yeah, yeah. And it's got a lot of kind of, I don't even want to say adult stuff, but there's a lot of things, as far as like marriage and everything and relationships lurking around in that movie that are kind of on a lot more larger level than you'd expect in a movie like that.
So speaking of the giant insect creature features, okay, let's make this a two-part question. What is A, your favorite of the giant insects? Not necessarily the movie, just the insects themselves, and B, which is the scariest of the giant insects, if it's not the same thing.
Oh, okay. Let's see. The second part was the scariest, and I think if I can call this an insect, it's the whatever sea centipedes from it. It challenged the world.
Right.
And what was the first question again?
Well, just what is your favorite of the giant insects?
Oh, probably them.
Them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go with that too. Like the giant ants, they're not the scariest per se, but I just really like them. Really like the way they look.
Yeah, yeah. I'll never forget the part when they hatch on the ship. And it shows that short sequence on the boat where they're running that boat and the guy's trying to send a telegraph and the ant breaks in and grabs him and he screams and everything. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, like I've said before, that stuff scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
But as far as just scary factor, I just got to go anytime it's a giant spider. They're just so icky. I think the giant spiders are just the ickiest of the giant bugs.
Yeah. Oh, like in what's the 50s one? Tarantula.
Tarantula. Wasn't there another one?
There was Earth versus the Spider.
There you go. Yeah. I always wondered why they never did a giant cockroach movie. I mean, talk about what would be the ickiest, creepiest, most skin crawliest giant bug movie of all time.
Yeah, somebody did one in the 90s, didn't they?
Oh, about giant cockroaches?
Yeah, I think it's called The Nest.
Okay.
Yeah, this might be something we may have to research after the show, but I'm pretty sure there is one.
Okay. How was it? Or did you see it?
I don't know if I've even ever seen it. I think I've seen it. It came out on Blu-ray, I want to say, and I remember seeing the cover pop up somewhere. But yeah, I think there is one floating around out there.
Speaking, you mentioned the stuff we saw as a kid that kind of stuck with us. I'll tell you one that sort of did that, but I don't know if it really counts per se, is Matinee.
Oh, yeah. Because
I saw that as a kid and I just really loved it. I was just taken with that aspect, the creature feature, like that monster kid, I related to him so much, and the cool Matt shorts within the movie. I just thought that one was great.
Yeah, it's really cool when you buy the DVD now. They have the entire Mant short film.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen
Like
that.
you can watch
Yeah.
the whole thing. Half man, half ant, all terror.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite Joe Dante movies.
Oh, he really is just an unsung hero, in my opinion. He just really does not get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that whenever you see him interviewed, even to this day, you can tell 5 minutes into the interview that this guy is the biggest movie geek in the world.
Yeah. Hmm.
He just loves film, and I think he just, whenever he makes a movie at all, it just comes through that he just loves film. Because he started out working with Roger Corman in New World, cutting trailers and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, very, very true. And in Matinee, just all the scenes with the monster magazines and how he discovers Dick Miller's character is actually an actor. Like those monster magazines, they just looked so cool. Like I really wanted that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's got some great like set design in it and stuff, and I think that's probably one of my favorite John Goodman roles too, when he plays like the William Castle kind of movie huckster guy.
Wow, that is a great point. That I've never put two and two together. He is very William Castle like, isn't he?
Oh yeah, especially at that they show him at the beginning, I think, or at one point where he's sitting in the director's chair and he turns around and talks to the audience. And I think he's even got a big cigar on his hand or something. Yeah, I think it's definitely supposed to be William Castle.
I bet if I'd watched that again, I probably would have caught that. But as I've told you, I just recently discovered William Castle's work. So I think the last time I saw Matinee was before I had discovered William Castle. So that's
Okay.
probably why. But yeah, that's a great point. That just adds a whole new kind of coolness to that movie. Wow. Because when I was a kid, we had Fangoria, and of course I had my Cracked Monster Party, which I loved. But by that point, as far as I know, at least my hometown, we didn't have any kind of famous monsters of filmland or anything like that. And I really wanted stuff on those classic monsters, but there just really wasn't anything available to me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because famous monsters did kind of die out, and their last part of their run was they were all into Star Wars and everything too. So, but yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, it was really cool. The first time I remember going into a bookstore and they actually had like a movie. Went into B. Dalton at the mall, and they had like a movie section in the bookstore, and you could find books on movies. It's like, wow, someone did a book on horror movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that Cracked Monster Party, because it delved into like sci-fi type themes as well. That was kind of my only outlet for some of those classic monsters, and I actually discovered some classic monsters and aliens from that magazine.
Yeah, yeah, and it's probably the same thing happened with you that happened with me, is that you would see a picture of a monster, an alien in a book or a magazine, then you would have to wait months or even years or even decades sometime to see the movie. And you would
Yeah.
just have this image in your mind of that one still of oh my God, look at this. I got to see this movie at some point. And it will okay, now I have to wait for it to come on TV or find it.
Oh, definitely. And there's some of those things I still have yet to see that have just in my mind that I want to see that, just have still not gotten around to seeing.
You'll marvel at the superior intelligence that unleashes its deadly ray.
So speaking of the classic sci-fi, what are some of your other favorite classic sci-fi films?
I really enjoy Forbidden Planet.
Oh, that's another one I watched recently for the first time as well and quite enjoyed.
Yeah, the whole thing, again, this is just one of those kind of childhood things, that whole thing when they go down inside the lab in they're walking across that big gang, what do you call it, like a gangway over those huge columns and pits with all the machinery crackling in them and stuff. It's wonderful stuff.
I don't know if you saw that post I did recently on the social medias, that fantastic Robbie the Robot I got at Walmart. Have you seen that?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, only $20 for it, brand new. And that is a great big figure. He moves, he talks, he lights up.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I would have loved that. As even though I hadn't seen Forbidden Planet, I knew Robbie the Robot. He's one of those iconic characters that even if you haven't seen the movie, you know that robot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Robbie, he's one of my favorite robots ever. And plus he gets to drive that cool car.
Yes, he does. And he appeared on Lost in Space as well.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I haven't seen Lost in Space in years.
Oh, I think you need to. That's just a great show. And the guy who designed the Lost in Space robot, the B9, is the same guy that designed Robbie the Robot.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Lost in Space was an interesting case because that first season, that first black and white season, is much more serious in tone. But then when it went to color, I guess kind of to cash in on the Batman craze, it started getting kind of silly and lighthearted, but I liked that. I liked the silly lightheartedness of it.
And then they started focusing more on Dr. Smith, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The one thing I'll always remember from the first season, again, this is going back to one of those childhood things, is the big Cyclops monster.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was throwing the rocks on. Because I remember I had the Aurora model of that.
I have the reproduction.
And it was always cool to paint the monster.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think they released that on Blu-ray not terribly long ago. You should consider picking it up.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine has it, but I should think about getting that sometime. Plus, as a kid, too, I had a massive crush on Marta Kristen.
I always liked Penny.
Penny? Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was young when it came, so I guess she was closer to my age range.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things, are you a Penny kid or what was Marta's name? Judy. Right?
Judy, yeah.
Yeah, Marta kid or Penny kid or a Judy kid, just like with the Brady Bunch. Were you a Marcia guy or a Jan guy?
Oh, Marcia, all the way.
I was a Jan guy.
Oh, okay, wow. I don't know if I've ever met a Jan guy.
Yeah, well, I think like you mentioned with Lost in Space, Jan was close to my age, and I just always, I don't know why, but I was always a Jan guy.
Okay. Not to veer too off topic, but you've seen the 90s, the remake movies, right?
Yes.
I actually quite like those. I think those are very underrated. They're so much fun.
They are. It's really cool the way they did it, I thought. How they took them and put them in modern times, but kept them as like the 70s family.
Yeah, and they're so oblivious. They're so out of touch. I just think really well done. Really funny stuff.
Prisoners hurtling through endless space, speeding toward the unearthly furies of a planet gone mad.
So we've talked a little bit about 50s sci-fi, and I guess we can maybe go into 60s a little bit. The one thing I always think about 60s sci-fi is 60s television. Like right. Lost in Space, where I remember watching The Outer Limits at some point, and some of those are really good, and some of those are really, really scary.
I actually bought that box set on your recommendation.
Oh, yeah. Some of those still, you watch them now, and they almost veer into like gothic horror, some of them.
I watched that one. I've only seen those episodes one time each, and I watched them all back to back. So a lot of it kind of blends. I'm going to need a second watch, but there is some stuff that really does stand out. Like those, I guess they were ants, but they had the human faces on them.
Oh, they're the criminals.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. The Xanti Misfits.
The Xanti Misfits. Very cool. I was like, wow, that's creepy. That is just weird, creepy stuff right there.
Yeah, then there's the one too, I think it's from one of the later episodes where they have those things that they attach to people's backs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called the Invisibles. And
oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember that one, yeah.
Then there's the one too I always remember with Robert Culp, where he's that guy who has some sort of accident and he has a steel plate put in his head. And with the steel plate, he can hear those two rocks talking that are aliens and how they're going to conquer the world.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it and some of the Twilight Zone episodes blend together. Like I forget which was which series. But I mean, that's great stuff too, though.
Yeah, Twilight Zone. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I particularly like, I mean, there's several I particularly like, but one that stood out to me was the one, it was Charles Bronson and, Elizabeth
Oh,
Montgomery.
were they were the two Charles? One of them was Russian or something, and one of them was like two opposing army
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Like in kind of that war torn, like very devastated city. Thought that one was really good, really memorable.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, was that a Twilight? That was a Twilight Zone,
That was
correct?
Twilight Zone, yes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. There was some good ones. Yeah,
and of course the Bill Mooney was actually on Twilight Zone a couple of different times.
yeah. I remember he was the one. He was in the kid that could like think things and they would come alive.
Yes,
It
that
was
one.
they did the remake of it in the. In fact, I think that was the Joe Dante segment in the Twilight Zone movie.
I believe you're right. And then
Yeah.
he was also on another one where he could talk to his dead grandmother on like a toy telephone.
Ooh, that sounds good. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that was a quite good one. And of
Yeah,
course, I think my favorite episode would be Nick of Time.
we have to refresh my memory on that one.
That's the William Shatner episode
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
with that cool little what you call it, devil jukeboxy guy
Oh,
on the table.
yeah, like a fortune telling machine, kind of.
Yes, fortune telling. That's the word for it.
Yeah, I remember that. And Shatner too was in that great Outer Limits where there was that monster underneath the sand.
Okay, you're right. He sure was. And then, of course, most famously, the gremlin on the wing of the plane.
Oh, that's right.
But I like. I mean,
Yes.
I like that one, but I like the Nick of Time better a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Some of the Twilight Zones were really scary too. I'll never forget the one with the ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, very creepy that
Yeah. Anytime you put a ventriloquist dummy, that's like automatic creep factor.
day. You're right. You're right. I mean, dolls in general are just such creepy little things.
Yeah, because there was a Twilight Zone with Telly Savalas that had the doll.
Telly Savalas is one of those ones that I haven't seen him in a whole lot, but I always like him when I do finally get to see him.
Yeah, he pops up in a lot of things. It's kind of weird when you see him in those old shows because he has hair. It's like, wow, Telly Savalas with hair.
That's right, because his trademark was kind of the bald head.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I still haven't seen I think it's the fourth season of The Twilight Zone, the one where it went to the hour-long format. Because it was like the first three seasons, if I'm not mistaken, were half hour. Then it
Yeah.
randomly went to an hour, then back to half hour. I haven't seen those hour-long episodes.
No, I only remember a couple. I remember one with Robert Duvall where there was like a dollhouse or something. He imagined he was living in a dollhouse or something, but I haven't I haven't watched them in a while time, but when you read about the Twilight Zone, a lot of the hour-long episodes don't get the best reviews.
Right. Well, I just think, especially with classic sci-fi, it just works better in the 30-minute time frame than it does in the hour-long time frame.
Yeah, and that's why even going back a little bit to the movies, that's why a lot of those movies work so well because they're like, 68, 72 minutes long.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just getting old, an old age thing, but I do think a lot of movies today are just way too long, way longer than they should be.
Yes. Yeah, I think they kind of do that because they figure people expect that now to get their money's worth, but a lot of them do seem to drag a bit.
Like some of my favorite movies, like Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, for example, I think that's an hour and 10 minutes.
Yes.
And that is just that's actually one I, could do to be a little bit longer, but that's a fast, great, quick watch.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen that in years.
Oh, wow. That's top 10 of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, it's a good
easily,
movie. It's a good movie. Yeah. A lot of that stuff is, I remember it's one of those things that you just kind of immediately, like whenever I think of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, I just immediately think of video store.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I just remember that cover. That's when I first rented it, when I saw that cover with Michelle Bauer with the chainsaw. It's like, ooh, I got to see this.
Yeah, definitely. Another good, and kind of on topic, kind of sort of, if you squint upside down while drunk, is the Fred Olin Ray movie Bikini Drive-In. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah.
That one, that's one of my favorite Fred Olin Ray movies as well. But I love all the classic kind of sci-fi and B-movie references in that one.
Well, I think he's another one of those guys, kind of like Joe Dante, that just he's a movie geek.
Right.
I think he loves that stuff. I really like the one he did with the prison ship, Star Slammers.
Star Slammer, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Interestingly,
we could probably do a Fred Olin Ray episode sometime.
Oh, I definitely could. I often say that I don't know if a person can be your spirit animal, but Fred Olin Ray is my spirit animal.
Yeah, he did some great stuff.
But
And
I
he's
kind of
still-
have this.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and I looked up his IMDb a while back just because I was curious, and he's still keeping busy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this kind of tradition now. It started several years back where on New Year's Eve, I watch a sci-fi-esque B kind of movie. That's just kind of my tradition. And New Year's Eve before last, Star Slammer was my movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I kind of like just making little traditions like that. And it just kind of makes watching movies as an adult a little more memorable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because when we're kids, you see a movie that first time, it sticks in your mind clearly. You remember what was going on, everything in your life. But now, as adults, we've seen so much, we've done so much, stuff just doesn't quite stick quite as much. So I like doing that just so I can, like that. As soon as you said Star Slammer, I thought of New Year's Eve, year before last.
Oh, yeah. Plus, the thing about nowadays, too, there's just so much stuff coming at you.
Right.
I mean, all the streaming services and everything. I mean, when I was a kid, there was like, we had network television.
Yeah.
And you waited till something cool came on and you sat down and you blocked off the time and you sat down and you watched it and you remembered it.
I mean, when I was a teenager, even, and before you could just readily go to, say, a Best Buy and buy a bunch of Blu-rays or DVDs or anything, or even VHS tapes, having to copy movies I rented and just having those movies and watching just the same handful of movies over and over again because that's what I had.
Oh, that was always a big thing, is copying, because you'd get the 2 VCRs. Then after a while, they started putting that copy protectant on them, and you had to go buy your little macro blaster box that would take the copy protect off and everything. And
Yeah, I only ran across that one or two times. I think the stuff I was copying was stuff they didn't bother to copy protect.
yeah, but it was cool because you'd see something like, especially when I videotape and the Hammer stuff started coming out, it'd be like, oh, I've never seen this. You'd have to run home and make a copy of it.
Well, as I've mentioned, I was very late to the party on Hammer. I didn't start seeing Hammer stuff till I was in college.
Yeah, that's probably another episode we could do sometime.
Yeah. Even though funny, when I went back and re-edited and put the older episodes up on YouTube, I didn't realize how much Christopher Lee and Christopher Lee Dracula we talked about. Like in the descriptions to the episodes, it was like, and we talk about Dracula again. Again.
Well, I guess if you're going to talk about something, Christopher Lee's a good thing to talk about.
It's funny, is I know we talked about it on that early episode, but I've forgotten. Who was your favorite Dracula? We won't get off on a tangent. I just want to know in the moment.
Oh, Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee is okay. That's what I thought. Yeah, mine too. And with that, I guess we'll jump on to the next topic we talked about discussing. Even though we could milk the sci-fi thing for another couple episodes, but we'll move along. We'll move along. Got to keep it interesting. So we were talking about discussing arcade memories and just our experiences as children and young people discovering arcades and that sort of thing. So what was your first, I guess, arcade memory?
I guess, going to the mall one day and you would see kind of, the machines would pop up like at onesies and twosies, like like we had a big shopping center called Meyer Thrifty Acres. I remember going in there one time and they probably had like, I think like a Centipede game and a Space Invaders game. And oh man, you'd play those. But then I remember just walking in there one day and they had like a whole room. It was like, oh, and you went in there with like, Robotron and, it was just, yeah, it was, and they're always dark with all the lights flashing and everything. It was like, talk about something that just blew your mind.
What was the first game like that really just captured your imagination?
Probably as far as the first wave of arcade games was Defender.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then later, I remember when Zaxxon came out, because that was kind of 3D, and it was like, oh wow, 3D. It just wasn't the flat thing on the screen. Then what was the one I never could master it or even get barely into? What was the one that was like the animated thing with the guy?
Oh,
like,
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair, yeah, that was
Don Bluth right there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Which I still, to this day, I guess that thing must have ran on like a laser disc type or something.
Yeah.
I wonder what the technology was behind that.
It was a laser disc, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. That was another one that was just the first time you saw that, you were like, whoa.
Yeah, blown away. That and Space Ace, which was another Don Bluth, I guess, video game project. So hard, but just fascinating.
Yeah. And it was just, and it was, arcades were kind of, the thing about them, it seems like they were there, but then all of a sudden they were just gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess it was the computer thing took off, like, Atari and ColecoVision and stuff killed them. But for a while there, man, I mean, I remember, riding my bike down there and it was like you would spend the whole day in there.
I remember going up to arcades all the way up into the 90s.
Yeah, we've got a place around here, actual store that restores and sells old arcade and pinball machines.
Oh, that's cool. I would love to own the Creature from the Black Lagoon pinball machine.
I have a friend, my best friend has a Creature from the Black Lagoon pinball machine, because you can go in there and you can kind of say, I really would like to get like a Creature pinball machine, and they'll search around and they'll find it for you.
How much does a pinball machine run about? Do you know?
Oh, he bought this a long time ago, like 20 years ago, and I want to think he paid maybe a couple $1,000s for it.
Oh, Nelly. Okay. Wowzer. Yeesh.
Yeah, I'm not. That may be inflated. He does listen to the show. I know he'll probably correct me, but and the one I always wanted was they made an Escape from New York pinball machine.
Wow, I don't think I've seen that one.
That and the Elvira one.
You bring me to actually a point I wanted to make. A very nice segue, though. Even before I kind of got into arcade and video game culture, I always had an interest in it. But what really fascinated me, especially when I was small, was the cabinet art and the pinball machine art. And I remember just being fascinated with so many of them. And you mentioned like that, the Elvira and the Escape from New York, and it just made me think of, my dad would take business trips when I was a child, and we would always go to the airport, not only to see him off, but to await his arrival to come back. And at our airport, it had probably between 6 and 9 arcade machines there, and several more pinball units. And I wouldn't play the pinball units, but I would just sit and just stare at this amazing artwork on the top screen thing.
Yeah, some of the artwork, I guess that's how they kind of drew you in, was that big panel in back that had all the flashy lights and the artwork and everything. Yeah.
There was this one, I forget the name now. I looked it up recently and found it. And I was like, yeah, that's it. And I knew the name and I've already forgotten. But it had this image of this kind of very cyborg-esque like centaur. But he, rather than being half man, half horse, he was half man, half motorcycle. But it was kind of an organic looking motorcycle. And there was a woman sitting on the back part of the motorcycle. And I just absolutely was just taken with that thing. I just thought it was the coolest looking thing I'd ever seen.
Huh. And you said you found out which one it was, or?
I did, and I've forgotten again.
Oh. Yeah, I always think that's something that I still think about to this day. It would still be cool if they would make, if someone was doing pinball machines. Like you can imagine like a Rob Zombie pinball machine.
I want to say there is one.
There is one.
I want to say that it came
Ooh,
out about a year ago.
really? Now I know what I'm going to be Googling after we're done here.
Yeah, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I did hear that.
Yeah, I can just imagine the artwork you could put
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, speaking of the airport, it's interesting. I have a lot of fond memories as a kid of the airport, of playing games there, and also they had a magazines stand. And my very first issue I ever bought of Heavy Metal was there.
Oh, wow. Wow. Your dad flew a lot, I guess, so you spent a lot of time at the airport.
Yeah, at
Ah,
least that's
okay.
how it feels in my brain that he flew a lot. Maybe it was like once or twice a year, but in my childhood mind, it seemed like more. But yeah, always was excited for that. Just getting to go to the hang out at the airport.
Oh, cool. Yeah, go play pinball and go to the newsstand.
Yeah. Well, they had arcade type games as well. And those were the
Oh,
ones I actually played.
oh, neat, neat, neat.
So my mom had an Atari and I played it a bit, but it really wasn't until the Nintendo craze that video game fever really hit me. And with that, I wanted more. And so it's about that time. So I guess 87, 88-ish when started actually going to arcades and kind of getting into that arcade culture.
Oh, okay. I remember I had a ColecoVision.
So we started going to the arcades, and there were multiple ones in my town. And the one we kind of went to the most was a place called Night Castle. And Night Castle was exactly like you mentioned. It was dark. Really, the only lighting was the game units themselves. There was always loud music blaring. They served food, and they were open till like 3 in the morning every night.
Oh, wow.
And my family, we were kind of night owls. So my dad would often take me like at 11 o'clock at night, go play some video games.
Oh, cool.
And the great thing too about Night Castle is you got the most bang for the buck. Because at most places at that time, you got 5 tokens for $1. But at Night Castle, you got 8 tokens for $1. And most games were 1 token. The brand new games were 2, but most were 1. So even for $1, that's 8 games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is a,
Sadly, that one it started to suffer a bit because they just kind of stopped getting new games. And so people stopped going, or I stopped going as much. And then eventually it was shut down because they were dealing drugs out the back. It was a front.
oh. I think you could picture in your mind a lot of kind of under the table stuff going on in arcades.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because I've heard a lot of people say that, and it wasn't really my experience, but that especially until the Nintendo craze, that arcades weren't really places that were meant for children, and parents often didn't want their kids going to arcades
Oh, really?
because of again shady activity going on, drinking, smoking. Like it was kind of more considered an adult kind of thing to do.
Oh, really? Huh. I guess
Uh,
my parents didn't care about that because I used to go to the arcade all the time. I was a bit older though when they came out, so maybe that's why. I don't
oh
think
yeah.
I still couldn't. I just remember riding my bike over to, like I said, Myers and going in the big arcade room. And yeah, just it seems like, you would come out all, after being in the dark and like the sunlight would hurt your eyes.
Yep. And you probably come out smelling like cigarette smoke too.
Yep. Yep. And all jacked up on about, 12 cans of Coca-Cola and
Yeah.
6 candy bars.
Yeah. I guess my first arcade experience though would be in our home or the vacation spot we went to every year, Panama City Beach, Florida. Every year my mom wanted to go play skee ball. She was in the skee ball. And so
Oh,
we would go to Funland Arcade, which was another one that stayed open late, had served food, had all kinds of arcade games. So I have a lot of memories from being really small of going to Funland Arcade so she could play skee ball.
oh, cool, cool, cool.
And it was another one of those that was kind of dark and just that great arcade. Like the few arcades I've been to in recent years, they're always bright and very sterile and almost like a doctor's office feeling. But back then they were dark.
Oh, probably those old arcades that we used to go to. I'm not sure if you'd want to turn the lights on in those places. They
Oh,
probably
I
didn't
know.
see. They probably never cleaned the carpeting or wiped down the machines or anything.
Oh man, I bet the amount of gum under the stools was insane.
Yep, yep, yeah. I bet you those are, if you thought about it, it'd probably be the kind of place you'd want to take a hot shower right after you left.
Yeah, yeah, but we just in the 80s just didn't really think about stuff like
No,
that as
no,
much.
no. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And another one of my favorite places to play video games as a kid was the movie theater.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because movie theaters always had video games.
Yeah, and I remember too when I got older, and when I turned 18 for a while in Michigan, you could drink when you were 18. I remember going into bars, and oh man, they got video games in bars. You
Even
could sit
better.
here and drink alcohol and play video games.
That's a good time right there.
Yeah, yeah. Then they jerked it up to 21, and I couldn't do that for a while. But yeah, for a while when I was 18, man, go and they had like the bar tables that had like the video games built into the bar table.
Yeah, yeah, the bar top ones, those were cool. There was a pizza place we used to go to that had those, and I always thought they were really novel.
Yeah, I always thought that'd be something cool to get for your home.
Yeah,
And
I
put in your
want.
living room.
I wonder if with video games, if it worked a lot like with the videotape market, how the smaller mom pop type places would get kind of the more obscure stuff because it was cheaper. I wonder if it worked that way with video games because often the movie theaters and pizza places and stuff like that had more obscure kind of video game titles, stuff I didn't see in the big boy arcades.
Yeah, that could be. Because I imagine just like with videotape, when there's a new release, like a new release video game, it's probably big bucks and oh yeah, that's a good point.
The pizza place I mentioned before was called Mazio's Pizza, and they always had, like I said, video game units. And they had one that I was just really fascinated with. I guess I've always just kind of been into clowns. It was called Mr. Do, and it was kind of a dig dug type game, but you were a little clown instead of the
Oh,
little guy. And I just thought that was the coolest thing.
yeah, there's a bunch of like kind of variations on Dig Dug with different characters and everything.
I watch a lot of retro gaming stuff on YouTube, and I didn't realize just how many Pac-Man kind of style games came out in Pac-Man's wake. It's crazy.
Oh gosh, you forget just how huge that was.
I mean, the fact that it had a huge hit song based on it.
Yeah, but I remember it seems like everywhere you went. I mean, I don't know how many of those things they made, but I swear everywhere you went, there was a Pac-Man machine. I mean, they were in drugstores, they were in grocery stores, they were in like everywhere there was a Pac-Man machine.
I remember even before the cartoons started to air, having like Pac-Man toys and stuff like that.
Oh, really? I don't remember the
Mhm.
toys, but I could see that because it was just gigantic.
Like I remember I had one of the little ghosts, even though it looked nothing like the ghost, it actually looked a lot more like Pac-Man than the ghost, but kind of the little ghost, and it had a little hole where you could like scoop up marbles as you went, like the pellets, even though the ghost didn't scoop up the
Oh.
pellets either. So kind of a weird random toy, but or maybe it
Wow.
was
Yeah.
Pac-Man. I'm just remembering very incorrectly, but yeah, that
Yeah.
whole Pac-Man fever. And I think that's another thing we've lost. I mean, granted, again, we're two old guys, so we just live in reminiscing these days, but just something so new like that could just take the world by storm. I think that's just something we've lost.
Yeah, that it's neat back then too, how things did that without the internet.
Yes.
It
Hmm.
was just like, just this thing came out, then your friend told you about it, or you saw one. It was just the way it would just kind of spread just among people talking, or, yeah, it was fascinating stuff.
It makes me wonder, you're familiar with the Contra code, right? Or do you know
No.
that? There was a Nintendo game called Contra, one of the early ones, one of the most popular Nintendo games. And there was this code that at the title screen you punch in up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start, and you got 30 lives. And
Oh.
somehow that went viral before there was a viral to go. And just everyone knew about this mystery code. And I'm just wondering, how did everyone know? Where did that get spread around? Like, how did I, in my small little southern town, find out about this video game code?
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing too, this just kind of popped into my head that I saw was real interesting the other day. I think it's on Netflix. There's a documentary on that ET game.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That was
Yeah.
yeah, that was really good. That was something that I had heard of the game, but I just thought it was fascinating. The whole backstory on that, how they had to rush this game out, and it turned out it was impossible to play, and they put them all in this landfill, and that guy went digging for them and everything. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I love video game documentaries. There's one called Man versus Snake that is quite good as well.
Oh,
And then there's The King of Kong, which is another quite good one.
yeah, I've heard about that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny to me and fascinating because I guess they try to hype up the drama to make it, I guess, more engaging. And so there's like this kind of retro gaming community of kind of, I guess, retro gaming stars, if that's what you want to call it. But they built up this one guy to be the villain of the piece. So in King of Kong, they really portray this guy in a bad light. That I don't know how much of it is actually true or not, just to make him this big villain. It's really engaging for a documentary about playing Donkey Kong.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool.
Then there's another one called Chasing Ghost, which I haven't seen yet, but I hear that one's good as well.
Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I guess that's, because I know a few years back somebody put out like a video game console that had all the old games on it, and it was before Christmas and people were like practically fighting for it at the stores, I remember.
Oh, nice, nice. When you say so, like classic games, like Atari
It was
type
like
game?
Nintendo. Yeah, it was either,
Oh,
I think it was Nintendo came out with like a game, like a module that had all those old games preloaded into it, all the old classic Nintendo games.
oh yeah, the Nintendo Mini. Yeah, I have the Super NES Mini.
Yeah, and they came out with something. Just remember it came out at Christmas time, and like people were practically fighting over it in stores. So yeah.
So I know video games aren't necessarily your wheelhouse, but I did want to get your opinion on kind of a phenomenon of the 80s, which is quite fascinating, especially being a toy collector and an avid cartoon fan like myself, is the R-rated and child inappropriate properties that were suddenly targeted at children with cartoons and video games and such. Perfect example being Rambo or the Swamp Thing video game and cartoon, and Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. What's your take on all that sort of thing? Any kind of
Uh,
memories or?
Not really memories, but I mean, I think it's cool. If you can introduce a little kid to Friday the 13th, I'm all for that.
Like when that Friday the 13th video game came out on Nintendo, I was so excited. I mean, I just could not believe a video game about Jason. I rented that as soon as the store got it for rent.
What was it like playing it? Do you remember?
Oh, I was not a fan once I actually
Oh,
got to play because you played as a camp counselor, you didn't play as Jason, and it was really hard and non-linear. It's probably something I might enjoy now, but as I don't know, like a 7 or 8 year old, it was not what I was hoping for.
oh, yeah. I guess they had to make it kind of kid friendly.
Yeah.
They should have came out with a kid version and an adult version.
Yeah, there you go, where you actually got to play as Jason. Even though I think in the Nightmare on Elm Street game, you did play as Freddy Krueger.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong, but I think that is the case.
Yeah. The one video game I'll always remember is because I worked at a place when Doom was big,
Hmm.
the first Doom, and they actually had to ban Doom because people were just playing it so much at work and not getting work done.
Ah, right, right. Yeah, I never really played that one because I am just terrible at those first-person shooters. That is
Uh,
just not my wheelhouse at all. I just have no skill at those whatsoever.
so am I. I never really enjoyed Doom till at some point someone told me the like the cheat code where you
Mhm.
could go in there and turn your guy into an unkillable zombie with unlimited ammunition.
Well, that's the way to play it right
And
there.
that's okay. This is for me. I could just walk around and blow stuff up and shoot stuff and blood and guts everywhere, and I'll never have to worry about a thing.
So I know you were a little older than I was. So did you never get into like say the RoboCop animated series or the Rambo animated series or any of those interesting R-rated properties turned into cartoons?
I remember seeing the Rambo one. I don't remember the RoboCop one. That sounds kind of fascinating. There was like a kids version of RoboCop.
I don't remember now if there was an animated series. I want to say there was, but I know there was a whole action figure toy line and everything for kids.
I know there was the huge toy line for Rambo.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and I do remember seeing the Rambo cartoons and stuff like that.
Well, with the RoboCop toys, they were neat because actually you could put caps in their back, and they had a little thing that you pull down and it popped the cap to make it sound like they were shooting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the popularity of RoboCop and probably the toy line by that third movie, even though I enjoyed the third movie, I think it was a PG movie.
Probably that's what, a lot of series kind of went that way. That's kind of because I guess that's when they must have started coming out with the toys because I can't imagine the toys came out for the first movie, did they?
No, I think it was a little later, but I
Yeah.
think it was pre that third movie. I could be wrong, but I think they were kind of between second and third.
Hmm, hmm. I guess they figured with cable and everything, and kids have
Yeah.
seen it.
Um, yeah, I liked me some RoboCop as a kid
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's probably much later than we could have talked about earlier with the classic sci-fi, but another good older sci-fi film, I think, is RoboCop.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, yeah. I love Peter Weller.
Yeah, he is
He's
quite
one of those
good.
guys. I love Buckaroo Banzai.
Yep. I got that recently on DVD. Haven't watched the DVD yet. I mean, I saw it on TV a long time ago, but need to watch it.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that people either hate it or people love it.
I can't imagine why anyone would hate it.
Yeah, then another kind of later sci-fi one that I really enjoy. I guess it's maybe kind of horror, but I always think of it as more sci-fi is Tremors.
Oh, yeah. That's a great movie. I liked the second one quite a bit as well.
Yes, yeah, yep, yep. The first one though is one of those movies if I'm like flipping on through TV and somebody happens to have it on one of my cable stations or on something on Roku or something, I'll just kick back and even though I own it on DVD, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, definitely. The actor, his kind of sidekick, who was the star of the second one, Bert something. What is his last
Oh,
name?
Michael Keaton, is that his name? The guy that was
No,
the
Michael
kind,
Keaton.
not
Michael
Michael.
Keaton's Mr. Mom.
Yeah,
His
the guy
Bert's
that was kind of the survivalist guy.
no. Kevin Bacon, his buddy,
Oh, Fred Ward.
Fred Ward. That's right, not Burt Ward. Burt Ward's Robin,
Robin.
right? Okay, yeah. So Fred Ward. I've always liked him.
Yes, he's one of those people that's kind of just he's kind of good in everything.
Like I never really got into the James Bond movies as a kid. Nothing against them, but just not really something that was on my radar until later. But I loved me some Remo Williams.
Yes. And just on a little Fred Ward side note too, he did that really neat, I think it was a made for cable movie where he was a private detective and it took place in in a world of H.P. Lovecraft.
Wow, I don't know that. That sounds
Yeah.
excellent.
What is the name of that? And it was really good. I think it's based on maybe a series of books, and they did another one with another actor. But there's one with Fred Ward where he's like a private detective in an H.P. Lovecraft world. It's really good.
I gotta find that because I
Yeah.
love Lovecraft adaptions.
Maybe is it Lovecraft Country, maybe or something. But yeah, for sure you can just find Fred Ward Lovecraft. It should pull up. But that's
Okay.
really good.
Yeah, I'll look that up. And as you were saying, Fred Ward is one that is kind of just good in everything he does. Like there was this movie, can't remember the name of it, but it was a comedy in the 80s where it was two sets of female twins had gotten switched at birth one of the twins. So one twin went with one and one went with the other. And I think two of the twins were like country girls and two of them were rich girls. And Fred Ward was the love interest to one of the country girls. And he like came to the city looking for her and ended up falling for one of the city twins or something. I can't remember what it was called, but I really enjoyed that one as a kid.
Oh man, I don't know that one either.
Oh man, I want to say Bette Midler was one of the was it Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler? I may be just completely dreaming that. I'll have to look it up after we're done talking. But
yeah, maybe we could do a Fred Ward episode sometime.
Yeah, unless we've exhausted our Fred Ward talk already. And that I think about do us for this week. That's
we spent I think about a half hour on each segment, so that worked out good.
Yeah. Anything you want to add?
No, I guess, if I could do a shout out for a couple people that have been kind of popping up on Twitter. I know we mentioned this person before, but I wanted to do them again as One Sheep Army. The artist, just because I am so envious of people that can draw, because I can barely progress beyond stick figures. And he does some really, in fact, I shouldn't say he, I'm not sure if he's a he or she, but he does some really cool, it's like cartoony artwork, which I love.
Yeah, it is he. He's an Italian artist.
Oh, okay, good.
And he actually has a quite long-running sci-fi comic. It used to be called Manifest, and he changed the name to it's Tessa. I don't know if it's Theus or Theus or how it's pronounced. You have to let us know, Ricardo. But yeah, it's been long-running for a long time, and you can find it like all over the place.
Yeah, I was poking around on his website the other day, and he does commissions, too, for very reasonable prices.
And if this interests anybody, he draws the giantest boobies you have ever seen.
He does. He does great cartoony kind of women, which is I just love that style of artwork, and he's really, really good.
Yeah.
And there's him. There's also Edward German, which is popping up on our Twitter feed sometimes. And also a fellow named Darius Whiteplume, who's like a local guy around here I want to give a shout out to, that pops up on our Twitter feed too.
Oh, yeah, of course, on both of them. And Edward German, I mean, one of the biggest supporters the pod has, that when we started season 2, the one episode we did at season 2, I mean, that was all thanks to him.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. So we definitely do need to give a shout out to him.
Yeah. Good folks.
And I'd just like to close by, thanking everyone, and just hoping everyone just, stays safe and healthy and sane.
Yeah, and just think of it like sci-fi, folks. Wear your mask. Enjoy wearing a mask like it's sci-fi.
Yep, and be creative. Draw something on it or be cool with it.
Yeah, I saw an older guy at the grocery store a couple weeks ago wearing a mask that had a mustache painted on it. And I thought that was so clever, so much fun.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
All right, take us out, buddy.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone, and thanks for tuning in and listening. And we hope that we have taken your mind off things for a while, and just keep watching the skies.